Okay, I'm just going to take a minute. If somebody could let me know when the stream is back online. I don't want to miss any more dialogue, but this is happening a little regularly. I'm actually just going to take a minute. I'm going to get up and double check something on my router to make sure that there aren't any interruptions coming from that. Okay, so Twitch is telling me there are 0 people watching currently, but as long as you guys seem to be responding. So, as long as you guys can see it, I am okay. I've noticed there's actually a couple of streamers that I follow, which, oh my god, look at all of these. Let me just delete these, Sorry guys, I'm just going to take a minute and delete these tweets because that's got to be one of the most annoying things in the world to see like 100 notifications for the same stream. But yeah, so there's a couple of streamers that I've been watching, and I've actually noticed that their streams are going online a lot, so I don't know if this might be a Twitch thing or not. I'm sorry for whatever it is. I'm trying to turn off the Twitter notifications, so if I do go offline again, you're at least not going to get spammed with notifications. Yeah, I'm starting to get a few more coming in, so. Alright.
As you wish, what is on your mind?
We're talking about your father bailing you out of jail.
Ah, yes. I do recall you asking about that.
Gaiku's reticence is palpable in the long silence that follows. He does not continue. You said that if I came back later, you'd tell me what happened. Gaiku sighs heavily, nodding.
I have given you my word, and I intend to keep it. Do not be concerned. I simply have not spoken of my family in a long time.
Bad memories?
No, quite good ones, actually. I haven't seen Yasujiro in many years, but that is my fault. We have not seen eye to eye when I was young, but we came to an understanding, eventually. Yasujiro gave me an ultimatum after my run-in with the Shiawase security. He told me that he had to cut a backroom deal with the rival in the Shiawase to keep me out of prison. The charges would be suspended if I finished high school and studied at the Kyoto University with the intent of joining Renraku. If I did not, Shiawase would take me into custody and I would spend time in prison.
Typical corporate politics at work. The rich protecting each other.
That is one perspective. I prefer to think of it as a man protecting the son that he loved, because his son was stupid and thoughtless. It was the act of a man harming his company to protect his family. I do not think that it is a common quality in these times. I had always taken my family for granted. Raised in a Renraku family, going to Renraku schools, I always had a sense of place, of belonging where I was. The thought of all that vanishing, I simply could not imagine it. Suddenly, the reality of my actions became clear.
Gaiku runs his fingers over his bald scalp, smiling distinctly.
From then on, I tried to be the son he wanted, and he seemed glad for it. We grew much closer over the next few years. He took time off to visit me when I was living in Kyoto.
Why would that be unusual?
He was a very, very busy man in those days. A lot of responsibility and very little time for himself. I was impressed that he could carve off as much time as he did just to go camping with his son.
Camping doesn't seem like a very Japanese pastime.
It is more popular than you would think. There is less open physical space in Japan than in North American nations, but most of Japan is still underdeveloped. The steep mountains and valleys make construction outside of the flatlands prohibitively expensive, and the area around Kyoto is protected from development. We made several trips in the area between Kyoto and Nara, along the village of Ide. We camped in the mountains above it. We would hunt wild deer and boar there, using my family's antique arquebus.
It's a strange choice of weapon.
It is a choice of expediency. It is nearly impossible for a private citizen to own a firearm in Japan, which is why you may so often read of Yakuza attacks involving swords and cleavers. As the Tanegashima that my family owns is from the 18th century, it is exempt from ordinary regulations.
Gaiku chuckles softly to himself.
Perhaps ironically, hunting with my father is how I learned to prepare raw meat. Strange to think that this inadvertently prepared me for my current state of affairs.
So how do you prepare it?
Soak the meat in brine water and simmer it at a low heat for several hours. Let it cool and repeat the process over several days. It cannot get too hot or I am unable to eat it. This process brings out the collagen in the meat. When it is done, I spice it with ginger and sansho pepper. Again, not too much. Mundane food is anathema to me.
Sighing happily, Gaiku stares off into the distance. When he looks back, he smiles broadly at you.
Those were good days. I'm sorry I cannot go back to those times. When one joins the Red Samurai, one must give up all attachments to one's previous life. The company, the code, and the unit become an entirety of your world.
Even your family ties have to be cut.
Especially those. Anything that could distract you from the mission that must be purged. Commitment to the unit and the company must be total. Applicants must be human, Japanese, and utterly devoted to Renraku. Your unit becomes your family. Your commander is your father and mother. Your teammates, your siblings. Red Samurai are not allowed to reveal our identities and position to anyone outside the Special Operations Group. Even if we wanted friends outside the unit, we could not have them.
So how did you end up joining the Renraku military?
A fair question given my youthful indiscretions.
Gaiku leans back, his blind eyes turned upward to the ceiling.
Are you familiar with the Kempeitai?
No, what's that?
The Kempeitai are the political arm of the Japanese military. Much like the commissars of the Soviet Union, they are responsible for enforcing political and social orthodoxy. This is not just within the army, mind you. They also enforce certain laws with regards to the general populace. When I was enrolled at Kyoto University, I studied global security and political science. It is the major generally used as a gateway to private security postings, with both the government and corporate militaries. I knew I wanted to fight. I was a young man and my blood was always up. One of the requirements was that the students join the youth brigade, Kempeitai. The youth brigade is a bit like the ROTC in North America, the Young Falcons of the Sioux Nation, or the District Officer Program in the Republic of Korea. Members learn to be soldiers without actually joining an army. They perform community service and promote civic pride. Performance and prestige of the Kempeitai are used to dictate later job opportunities, a bit like a good internship.
Did you enjoy it?
Not at first. Later, it became pleasant. Power is a heady thing, especially for a youth who has few superiors to answer to. We developed a sense of superiority over others and began to abuse our power. I believe that may have been part of the point.
Did they want you to feel superior?
Yes, I believe that is the purpose of the Youth Brigade, is to teach students to glorify the group over the individual, already a strong concept in Japanese culture. In so doing, the students are prepared for the realities of their future relationship with the corporation. We did as we were taught, such is the way of the authority on the young.
Gaiku shrugs indifferently. What kind of things did you do?
The details do not matter overmuch. Forced our way into homes under false pretenses to intimidate families. We encouraged children to inform on their parents, accepted bribes to look the other way if we were in the mood, or had people arrested for said bribery if we were not. Petty behavior, but such things were encouraged. When I was nearing graduation, I was approached by a recruiter with Renraku Security. She told me I came from a good family and could have a promising career with the company. She offered to fast-track my application towards a potential Red Samurai position, 3 years with the Renraku military as a junior officer, and guaranteed placement in the Red Samurai training billet of my choosing. The pay was good, and the excitement of being an elite was an attractive proposition. I accepted, but as I did not truly understand what I was signing up for. As I told you before, they force you to give up everything except the company and the unit. That was made clear to me, but I did not truly understand it.
So what happened?
Exactly what you would expect happened. I signed the contract and became a soldier in Renraku's army. I was physically fit, at the top of my class, and it seemed inevitable that I would see my desires fulfilled.
Gaiku raps 2 knuckles on his breastplate.
Obviously, I succeeded. The training was extremely difficult, both mentally and physically. I knew that it would be isolated from my old life, but I did not anticipate the full extent of that isolation. The Red Samurai recruits report to a facility called the Forge in Chiba. They are assigned a unit, you and the other recruits, and for the next 2 years, the Forge will be your home and prison.
Shaking his head wistfully, Gaiku snorts.
It seems ridiculous in retrospect. We were all so young. None of us had any idea of what we were doing, except trying to become the best soldiers in the world. And yet those strangers became my new family in the absence of the old.
Tell me about the members of your unit. Gaiku wrinkles his nose as if smelling something foul.
That chapter of my life is over and done with, and they can no longer be a part of my world. Why would you care about any of that?
You said they became a surrogate family. That's important.
You make a wise point. Commanders should know about their soldiers as well as they know themselves. Very well.
Gaiku looks down at his hands, picking something out from beneath one claw. Continues to look at his hands while he speaks.
When I was younger, I would have more readily cut off my fingers than tell you what you ask. You must understand that secrecy is absolute among the Red Samurai. Your identity becomes secret, erased from any database that might connect you to the Red Samurai. You use only your code name when in the field, and your given name is known only to your commanders and your unit. Even other Red Samurai units have no idea who you really are.
Finally looking up from his hands, Gaiku leans back against the boxes.
Contact with the outside world is cut off completely. Even once training is over, your communications are restricted. Maintaining relationships outside of those you work with is frowned upon.
Why do they do that?
It forces the new recruits to bond more tightly than in any other military unit. Every emotion a recruit has for their old friends and families is transferred to the unit. In a very real way, you are required to love your teammates. Ishida was our commander. He came from a rich family in Saitama, the kind of family where he was given every advantage possible, with the expectations that he would keep the family name prestigious. He was older than the rest of us, and he'd already spent 6 years in the army. Very severe man, rarely given to humor. Takagawa was usually the second in command. As our designated marksman, he tended to have a better tactical view on how the operation should be run simply because he needed to study the terrain more. He loved to get us laughing. Without him, I think most of us would have gone crazy in the first few months. Our mage's name was Sasaki. She had been training as a Miko, an apprentice priestess, when her magic began to manifest. She was in the unit for the challenge and for the money. Her family had always been poor, and they had always told her that she would never amount to anything. I think she joined the Red Samurai just to prove to them that she could do anything that she wanted.
My kind of attitude, I admit. Gaiku cocks his head, amused.
I am unsurprised to hear it. You and Sasaki share similar attitudes. Neither of you stops to consider if your goals are attainable. You simply know that they are. Our heavy gunner's name was Amorai. He kept the team honest with itself. He never had a disparaging word for anyone, but he would not hesitate to call someone out for their behavior. Sasaki loved that about him. Really, she loved all of him. The two were discreet, but discretion only goes so far in such a small team. Still, we respected their privacy where possible.
Is that kind of thing allowed?
If the unit commander allows it, yes. We were given incredibly wide leeway in what we were allowed or forbid, were to allow or forbid in our unit, the belief being that the results were the only thing that mattered. If the unit failed, it would fail as a whole. Sasaki and Amorai were crazy about each other, and it would have done more harm to keep them apart. Lastly, there was me. I was the close quarters and breaching expert, first man in the door when we had to clear a room. I was a perfectionist on the team. Amorai could get us to do anything, but I was the one who made certain we did it well, with style.
How do you mean?
If a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing well. If that means also your duty, it is worth doing perfectly. Many times we'd perform it for drill or exercise well enough, but that was not good enough if I had to trust my life to it. That was why we became one of the best teams in the organization's history.
Sounds like you missed them. Gaiku growls, his tone annoys.
Of course I do. They were my family for 8 years. Who wouldn't miss that? That sense of belonging and shared values. Even if I were to be cured, I could never go back. They've been disgraced, and I have done unforgivable things. I have been cast out for good.
What do you mean? Gaiku closes his eyes, sighing through his nose.
When they ambushed me in Fukoa, it was fight or die. I killed 2 of them before I escaped. I will not be returning to the unit no matter what.
He opens his eyes after a moment, shoulders slumping.
It is not an easy memory to grapple with.
Why not now?
I need to process the emotions. It was nearly a year ago, but it still feels as raw as it were yesterday. I am tired. Come back later and we can talk more.
I'm not gonna lie, as much as I like Gaiku's story, I'm really happy to be done talking with him. My friend, there's something I would like to discuss with you. Something related to the Ares run that you recently accepted. You may recall my story about my former colleagues, Taylor and Hardingham, the ones who stole my research. They work at that facility. If the auto repair circuits they took from me still exist, they are there. I need you to bring me on this run to retrieve them. I knew that was going to be the same guy. Of course, you'll be the first man on the train when we head out. Thank you, my friend. You'll not regret this decision. I guarantee it. The air in Ractor's shop is ripe with the stench of old metalworking fluids. He turns to face you, a burning cigarette clenched between his teeth. Sorry about the smell. It's a long time to purge the coolant sump. He frowns. If I had access to the proper equipment, this would not be a problem. I could clean the fluid and reuse it. But alas, halogen treatment chambers are rather hard to come by, even in a place like Heoi. He shakes his head as if to clear it. Anyway, my friend, you did not come here to discuss the ins and outs of shop maintenance, I'm sure. What does bring you here? Been thinking about what we talked about the last time. Mind if I ask you a few questions? He tilts his head in acquiescence. Be my guest. I have no secrets to keep. About that drone self-repair system you invented. How did it work? There were 3 distinct elements to my approach. When these elements were all working in concert, prototypes that utilized the process displayed remarkable self-repair capabilities. This may be a lengthy explanation. You can skim over it as you please, or I can break it down to you if you're genuinely interested. Give me the long version. I want to know how this process of yours works. Shifts his cigarette to the corner of his mouth. Very well. The long version it is. The first element of my process was the outer skin that the droid could be wrapped in, a refinement of an older biometic self-healing materials modeled to emulate the self-repair capabilities of living beings. Imagine a polymer composite interlaced with microtubules, capillaries if you will. These vessels are capable of delivering bonding agents to the site of a wound as it occurs, thus healing it. Kite 260, how is it going? Kite 260 is another member of Team Panda. Looks like the stream has stabilized a little bit, so apologies for the spamming of the tweets and the interruptions, but very glad to have so many people hanging out. As I said, Kite is another member of Team Panda along with Leap Paste, so if you would like, feel free to click on that Panda button at the top of the screen, and you'll see a number of other great streamers who are all brought together by the wonderful partnered streamer Seriously Clara. Kite is certainly among one of the kindest and most consistent among them. I've heard of smart materials that operate on a similar principle. They've been around for decades, haven't they? Yes, although they remained uncommon until recently. As I said, my material was a refinement on those earlier designs. It was only the first part of the system. The synergy between the three was what made the project work. The second element involved the underlying structure of the drone's architecture, the servos, gears, circuits, etc. Utilizing self-assembling materials and redundant systems, I created a system by which damaged components could be fabricated and replaced by the drone itself, without any need for human interference. Alright, so you have a self-healing skin with a self-replacing underlying structure. What was the third part? Finally, the system had a magical component. The corner of his mouth dips downward. I must confess a certain degree of ignorance when it comes to this portion of the project. I understand some of the theory behind what was done, but the specifics are beyond me. Tell me what you do know, then. In layman's terms, a magical element was necessary to render the system self-perpetuating. Obviously, no purely mechanical system can repair itself indefinitely. The synthetic skin becomes more brittle with every wound that it heals, and the automated assembly components will eventually run out of materials to work with. As a rule, fighting against entropy is a losing proposition. But with magic, we can rewrite the rules, weaken the grasp of those entropic forces to the point that they are rendered negligible. Think of magic as a lubrication that keeps the gears turning. I wish that it wasn't necessary, but I'm also a realist, and I will confess that it is required for the system to work. And this package of systems is what your former colleague stole from you, what you need to get back. Yes, given enough time and resources, I might be able to recreate the first two components of the system on my own. The magical component is, and forever will be, completely beyond me. That is why it's so important that we recover my research and the prototype that was stolen. And we will recover them. Of that, I have no doubt. What do you think that a post-human future would mean? Freedom! He takes a long drag on his cigarette, sucking the smoke deep into his lungs. When he speaks, it erupts from his mouth with a plume. The ultimate freedom to direct our own progress and to steer ourselves wherever whatever direction we wish. Consider, my friend, every aspect of Koishe was tailor-made for a purpose, dreamed up, designed, and built with a singular guiding intellect. Yeah, I get it, you made your own drone. I see no shame in taking pride in my work. Kashai steps forward, the tip of his leg digging into the metal grate that lines the shop's floor. I believe that the fruits of my labor speak for themselves. Now getting back on track. Think of the circumstances surrounding your own birth. The building blocks that shaped you into a living being that you are. Your father and mother exchanged fluids, sloppily no doubt, with the mindless abandon that such biological imperatives entail. Oh man, you leave my parents out of this. He raises both hands in a placating gesture. Just an example, my friend, just an example. Substitute in my parents instead, or any pairing that you choose to imagine if it makes you more comfortable. The important thing is that the forces that shaped you and me and the others upstairs and anyone else you would care to mention were ultimately mindless ones. Blind, manipulative biological drives that led a sperm and an egg to collide. Add in a roll of the dice and a dash of Mendelean genetics, and here you are. The natural processes of evolution and sexual selection guide the development of our species through trial and error. Throw a billion darts at a wall and see what sticks. In the future that I foresee, this process will be reined in, guided by our own controlling intellects. To co-opt the antiquated phase, a myth of intelligent design will become a reality, and we will be our own gods, reshaping ourselves as we see fit. Tell me again, what does this have to do with posthumanism? Step back for a moment and imagine a future in which we have fully integrated with machines. Really imagine it. There will be no niche that we cannot fill. We will guide our own evolution, tailor ourselves to whatever environment we see fit, and we will no longer be slaves to the selective process that has dictated our development since time immemorial. Let's say that you're right. At what point do we cease being human and become something else instead? He shrugs. Whenever we choose to define ourselves in that way. Humanity is an intrinsically human concept. If we decide to rebrand ourselves as a different species, that is the direction we will take. I strongly suspect that nobody else would care. So tell me, what do you want? What's the endgame that you envision for us in this grand post-human future? Kashai raises itself on its legs, stretching so that Ractor can caress its chassis. The motion is alarmingly fluid, more like a living thing than a machine. Ractor traces his fingertips over the drone's shell, his eyes focused on an imaginary point on the horizon. We have placed such unnecessary limitations on ourselves, my friend. It fills my heart with sorrow to know what we could be but are not. I would see those limits stripped away, peeled back and discarded for the betterment of all. In the future that I foresee, we will open our eyes to the possibilities that surround us. Bodies reshaped to thrive in the deep ocean and the depths of space. Bodies inspired by nature or the human imagination or both. Bodies that can be used and shed and used again, inhabited as the wearers see fit. The timely realization of such a future is what drives me forward. It is the cause to which I have devoted my life, and thankfully, it is inevitable. He tips his cigarette, sending ash spilling down to the metal floor. Assuming, of course, that we don't destroy ourselves first. There's a hard limit on the fusion of man and machine. Doesn't your vision of the future require us to get past that? You're speaking of the essence limit and the problems associated with essence loss. He releases a plume of smoke from the corner of his mouth. Yes, of course, there will be a problem. But as with all problems, a workaround will present itself. Of this, I am certain. Are you basing that on anything, or are you just taking it on faith? He smirks at you. No, my friend, I am not taking it on faith. My beliefs are rooted in my own observations and experiences. For the time being, let us leave the matter at that. In this post-human future that you're trying to bring about, what role would a drone like Kashai play? A similar one to the one that he plays now. I imagine that he was designed for a purpose, after all. That said, I can see the techniques that went into his design and fabrication having much broader ranging applications. You're pretty attached to that drone of yours, aren't you? You've even assigned him a gender. You keep calling it him. Yes, of course. Kashai is very close to me. As if on cue, the drone scuttles forward, the hardened tips of its claws screeching across the metal floor of the shop. It comes up short, just in front of you, a strange mechanical chitter rising deep from within its chassis. You might accuse me of anthropomorphizing my little companion, assigning human characteristics to him where in fact there are none. Truth be told, there is much more to Kashai than meets the eye, but that is a different conversation, one best suited to be held for another time. If that's what you want? He nods. It is. I have work to do, and I'm sure that you can find better uses for your time than listening to me prattle on. He gestures towards the hatch in the ceiling. And with that, I'm afraid I need to ask you to show yourself out. We can continue our talk at another time. All right, Ractor, we'll talk later. He turns away. Good night. So I have half a mind that there is a former partner in this drone. It basically explains a few elements of his story. So he is not concerned about the essence limit. One possible reason for that is he has successfully transferred a human consciousness into a robot already. The behaviors of Kasha, the unique behaviors, also sort of indicate a... oh, hang on. Oh, it's just telling me to go outside. You know, obviously indicates an intelligence beyond what a normal programmer would do. And so, you know, again, the idea of a human inside of that thing, or at least a former human inside of it, is another one. Of course, that also explains the anthropomorphization of the drone. So we'll see. I'm gonna exercise a bit, Gustav. Helps me clear my head. Come back later and we'll talk. I forgot that I talked to him already. Kite, it's the first robot that I program with a human consciousness. It's gonna be you. Thank you, Kite. That's really kind of you to say. By the way, I know I've got a few more people in here. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it, but I did want to take a minute when there was a healthy audience in here and say that we're at 388 followers. 1 month ago, and I know this because Sleepringer was kind enough to give the word, but 1 month ago we celebrated a 300 milestone. So that's a net of 88 people. We had more, but a net of 88 people have decided to throw their support behind the stream. And that means a ton to me, guys. So in addition to all the kind things that you guys have been saying inside chat, and more importantly, the fact that you've been sticking with me despite some very severe Twitch problems. Possible problems that I'm seeing right now. Okay, my upload speed went down to 43 kilobytes a second for a second there. But you know, the fact that you guys have stuck through me with the Twitch problems, but also the you know, the support, both the chat that I get, things like what Kite's writing, but also just having lurkers in the background, it does mean a lot. So I know I said that a little bit earlier, but I also wanted to take a minute and acknowledge all the people who are in here. Obviously, I don't get to say all the lurkers individually by name. If you'd like me to give you a little bit more acknowledgement, feel free to speak up. But oh, see, now I feel bad because I know exactly what Kite just read. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time thinking on that. But I really appreciate the fact that you guys are in here, and especially the ones who I don't get a chance. You know, when there's people in chat, I can always acknowledge them and I can always speak. But I do, you know, occasionally I will see who's stopped by the chat. And there are some people who very regularly show up, and even if they're not talking inside of chat, it does get noticed, and I really appreciate that, guys. Isabel half turns away from the octopus's main display. She looks up at you, blinking. The memory stick that you acquired from Rhombus has already been slotted into one of the computer's many expansion ports. The cherry red plastic that sheathes the stick looks slick and wet in the light. You did good back there. The run went well. Her eyes flit down to the memory stick. We got the stick, the key to my old memories. All that I have to do now is slot it. You haven't unlocked your old memories yet? No, not yet. I mean, I can. It'd be as simple as plugging myself in and tapping a key. My old memories are mine if I want them.
I would never want to belong to any club.
Somebody just followed. Why can't I see it? Thank you, whoever that stranger was. Senel SC2, thank you very much for the follow. I don't believe I've said hi to you in chat, but welcome. Thank you very much for showing that support. I hope you got a chance to hear how much I appreciate that. We were at 389 at the end, actually 390 last cast. definitely appreciate you bringing me back up to that goal. But you're not sure that you want them. She nods. That's about the shape of it. I'm feeling hesitant about this. It isn't easy, you know, shifting organic memories into headwear storage, wiping the originals and locking them away for safekeeping. That's corporate-level mind sculpting. Serious business. I'm assuming that there's a point to all of this. The point is that I wouldn't have let an amateur tinker with my brain if it wasn't important. Whatever I've got up there, I was desperate to get rid of it. It makes a girl wonder why. Tell me, Isabel, would it have been easier for you to have Rhombus just wipe the memories altogether? She blinks. Yes, much easier. Still not without risk, but you didn't do that. You had to move the memories into storage. Why? There's a long pause. Because I knew that one day I might need them. Were you wrong about that? You tell me. No, damn it, of course I wasn't. You don't have to be so glib about it. Another long pause. Isabel stares at her feet, thinking. Finally, she looks back up at you. You're right, I know that. I knew it before we went to get the code. I just needed to talk it through with someone. Not Gobbet, someone who could take the situation seriously. I needed to talk through it with you. Glad to be of help. Without another word, she pulls a cable from a pile on the floor and slots it into her data jack. The other end disappears into one of the octopus's many brains. Her fingers fly across the octopus's keyboard, rattling off a series of audible clicks. Finally, her thumb hovers over the execute key. Alright, 71. Wish me luck. The key depresses with an audible click. Isabel's eyes flutter and her cheeks flush with blood. No! She starts shaking her head from side to side, wringing her hands. The progress bar on the octopus's auxiliary monitor slowly climbs. Oh, fuck! You've got this, Is. Don't back down now. Thanks for the tip, and I'm not backing down. It's almost done. The progress bar climbs to 100. Isabel snatches the cable out of her data jack and covers her eyes with her hands. She's shivering. She clutches her temples with the palms of her hands. Now I remember why I didn't want these anymore. These are your memories, Isabel. You can handle them. Not like this, I can't. These are years of bad memories, all let out of the box at once. It's overwhelming and it's horrible and I want it to stop. I can remember things that happened to friends of mine, to relatives, things I watched happen. No, it's okay, Isabel. Breathe, they're just memories. They can't hurt you. Yes, they can. Her voice is ragged, raw. These memories are crystal clear. It's like all of this shit happened yesterday. I can remember watching friends die, and I can see their screaming faces just as clearly as I did the day that it happened. It's like watching a Trid show, but this is my life, and it's real. Isabel, focus. Is there anything that can help us? She screws her eyes shut with concentration. Beads of sweat hang heavy on her brow. I think so, yes. It'll take time for me to sift through all of this. She opens her eyes again and looks up at you. I'll hold on to these memories for as long as I can, hopefully long enough to reveal something useful. No promises beyond that, though. I'm not asking for promises. Just do your best. She gives you a weak half smile. I always do. One thing that does jump out at me. Rhombus archives some software up there. She taps her temple with a fingernail. It's sitting on top of the memories, all wrapped up like a present. Don't know why he did it, but it looks like a combat package. Why would he have done that? Beats the hell out of me. He put it in there when he was trying. Look, he put it in there when he locked my memories away, so maybe he was trying to stash it. Or maybe he knew I'd need it one day. It's a basic attack modification, I think. I'm gonna have to study it to be sure. I think that I can use it. That's some good news. Yeah, it's all very exciting, but for now, just give me some space, okay? She turns away, shivering. Like I said, it's gonna take time for me to make sense of all this stuff. Alright, I'll check back with you later. She waves you away. Good. Go. Now. Mr. Pornstar, why do you feel like a pleb? It's always good to have you in here. I hope well, both you and everyone enjoyed your Labor Day. Gobbet looks up from her hot plate at the sound of your approach. A smile creases on her face. She raises her eyebrows and gestures at the cabin around you. You know, the Bolt Hill has really been shaping up over the past few days. With all this work we've been pulling into her, she's starting to feel like a real home. Anyway, enough about the boat. She puts her hands on her hips, sending madness scurrying. Ready for your next lesson? Or did you just want to chat? Any thoughts about the last run? Isabel and her stupid rivalry with Rhombus. I can't believe she actually cared about that bullshit between them. Honestly, I think she even had a crush on him or something. Why else would they act like that? I mean, I guess getting your memories back is a good idea, but it would have been better not to lock them up in the first place. Your turbo... Oh, that's right. I completely forgot. We treat everyone equally here. Though I do believe that means that you're going to have to watch a few ads, and if they're Pringles ads, I'm particularly annoyed by them. Yeah, maybe Rhombus was a jerk about how he gave advice, but she killed his cat, Seattle. Would you let that fly? Because I sure as hell wouldn't. Whatever, I just hope it was worth the hassle. So, what did you want to chat about? I'm ready for my next lesson. Yeah? She smiles. That's good. I was hoping you'd want to keep going with this. It's good for you, and I'm kind of enjoying it too. Gobbet runs a hand through the knotted ropes of her hair, a contemplative look on her face. A moment later, she turns her attention back to you. Alright, this is going to be another long story, so I'm thinking we should take it in chunks. If you've got any questions, you can ask them along the way, and if you need to take a break, we can come back. Sound good? Don't ask, tell. You're the one who's running this show, remember? Of course I remember. She folds her arm over his chest. And you're right. I'm the teacher here, so shut up and listen until I tell you not to. Alright, so last time I told you about the event that brought an end to my illustrious career as a subcontractor. This time I'm going to tell you about a run that went well with my regular team. Was this when you started running with Isabel? No, it was long before Iz hit the streets as a runner. We were friends and everything. She was still learning to deck back then. She was good for her age. She wasn't ready for prime time. You don't know anyone from a group that I'm talking about. They're all gone now anyway. Wait, you lost 3 other teams before you hooked up with me? Yeah, I did. Thanks for rubbing it in. The words are rueful, but her tone is soft. Touchy, touchy. Yeah, maybe I am. But I'll bet that if I poked into all the people you'd lost over the years, you'd get touchy too. Anyway, the truth is I'm mostly over it. When you run the shadows, losing people is an occupational hazard. She offers you a lopsided smile. The Shadowrunners were disposable assets. It shouldn't come as a surprise that we get used up and tossed away. Hey, nobody lives forever. We all get flushed down the same chute in the end. Yeah, you know how it is. People die and it's sad. There's no sense moping about it. Tell me about the team that you were running with. Sure. She extends her hand so that she can count off the teammates on her fingers. Madness scurries down the sleeve and perches on her forearm. Our muscle was a Hawaiian Jew with poor impulse control. Big, round guy with lumberjack arms and ringlets in his hair. He called himself Honu. I guess he loved turtles? I don't know. Street names are weird. We had a tech specialist, Egret. She was tall, gawky, dyed her hair bone white. She had a drone named Arlo that followed her around like a lost puppy. She's kind of a jack of all trades, but she could get the job done. Funny parties, too. Our de facto team leader was a guy named Sui. He was a wiry troll, if you can imagine that. Probably about 2% body fat, all skin and bones. Walked with a hunch to make himself look smaller. He was a shaman. Followed rat, like me. There can't be too many troll rat shamans out there. Not that I've met, but Sui seemed like a really good guy. We got along fine. I actually really liked everyone on the team. They were a lot of fun to run with. How did you meet this group of yours? Through mutual friends. We actually all lived together before we decided to start running as a team. There was this floating squatters commune out in Hong Hong Bay. It's probably still out there, actually. I've never gone back in a long time. We spent a few years living on that thing, and the rest of the team lived there with me. You lived on a raft? Yeah, basically. We called it the sinking ship. It wasn't much to look at, but just a whole bunch of shipping containers all bolted together in a great big floating brick. It wasn't the most comfortable place I've ever lived. The price was right and the company was good. Okay, I think I've got a grasp on the team dynamic. Keep going. G nods. Alright, moving on. One day, Sui brought us a job. He'd met a client in Victoria Harbour Bar, a rich Eastern tiger exec. The guy wanted us to steal something for him. A shiny object. She raises her hands. I know, it's stupid, right? But that's how the Johnson described it for us. The shiny object. That was what he wanted us to get. Never gave it any other name. Seriously, a rat shaman hired to steal a shiny object. Yeah. You could see how the gig would be hard for us to resist. Anyway, the client told us what to look for. He described it as a chunk of red jays about the size and shape of an ostrich egg, with a mirror-polished surface and gold wire inlays. He'd said that he'd have paper charms hanging off it. Fu talisman. Taoist sorcery stuff. We weren't supposed to touch those. The client also told us about the shiny object's then owner, an old hedge wizard turned entrepreneur named Kong Juyan. Hedge wizard? She nods. He had the whole wise old sage thing going on. He had the robes, the little hat, and the kind smile. Oh, and the piece de resistance? A long, wispy beard. He was mean as a snake, though. Had the rep to prove it. Intel said that Old Man Julian was keeping the shiny object in one of his warehouses. He had a bunch of them. He built himself a nice little empire, selling magical paraphernalia through the puppet vendors in the Yao Mao Te night market. Supposedly a good fifth of the stalls in that place were on Julian's payroll. Yeah, what kind of magic paraphernalia are we talking about? She begins counting off examples on her fingers. Pickled reagents in mason jars, hermetic scrolls and charms, relics looted in Buddhist temples, crates of old Balinese regatta masks, and fist-sized stones from a great dragon's kidney. Julian sold it all. He got his hands on it in the first place. How he got his hands on it in the first place is anyone's guess. I get the picture. Good, thought you might. We'd cased the warehouse for a couple of nights before the run. We were pretty sure that Julian was keeping our payday in the vault area at the very back of the building. The old man had enough triad protection that we'd have to be sneaky to get there. Sui was the one who came up with the plan. We'd split up outside and enter the warehouse in two teams. Team A would create a diversion. Team B would hit the vault when security was looking the other way. We'd grab our payday, regroup, and get the hell out of there. Seems straightforward enough. How did it work out? Well, I mean, I'm going to say, in my experience, splitting the group is almost always more trouble than it's worth. This is particularly keeping the last run in mind. I'd agree with you if we were going out expecting a straight fight, but as a Shadowrunner, you should almost never want to get into one of those. When you're on the job, you're always going to get outnumbered and outgunned. Going quiet is inherently safer than going loud, and if splitting the group is what it takes to do that, she shrugs. Anyway, Team A, Honu and Egret, circled around to the loading dock, just like we'd planned. Sui and I waited by the service entrance. We didn't have to wait long. A couple minutes in, we heard this ungodly crash, then another and another. As it turns out, Egret had rigged into Julian's network of automated forklifts. She had 6 of them running amok at the loading dock, chasing down workers and crashing themselves into anything marked fragile. The next time we're on a run with a loading dock, remind me of the forklift trick. Actually, no. I gotta do this. Subtle. Wasn't supposed to be subtle. She was making distraction, remember? Honestly, Seattle, you need to start paying attention. Anyway, Egret's distraction did what it was supposed to do. Sue and I watched most of the Triad guys at the service entrance abandon their posts and were hauling off towards the loading dock. A couple of guys with baseball bats stayed back, but we handled them easy enough. We slipped inside and made a beeline for the back of the warehouse where the shiny object was supposed to be. Let me guess. Something went wrong. No, actually it was there, just like we thought it'd be. The door was open and everything. The shiny object was sitting there in a teak cradle, gleaming with reflected light. Just like the client said, it had a ring of talismans hanging off of it, like a grass skirt, the people all crinkled with age. We didn't waste any time. I reached in and grabbed the thing. It felt strange through my gloves. The jade sort of pulsed, as if it had a heartbeat. Sounds ominous. Yeah, tell me about it. I wanted to drop the thing, but that was our payday, so I slipped it into my satchel instead. Couldn't get the flap closed quickly enough. The package being secure, Sui and I turned to hightail it out of it, and then things turned to shit. Did the shiny object do something unpredictable? No, not the shiny object. Old Man Julian. He was standing there, right in front of us, larger than life. I'm guessing that he'd heard the commotion in the loading dock and he'd come running, well, waddling, to make sure that his treasure was safe. As it turns out, it wasn't, because I'd already stolen the thing. He looked displeased. What'd you do? What do you think we did? He had our backs to the wall. We lit the old bastard up. It was pretty epic, truth be told. Spirits were summoned, spells were discharged, the vault door sealed behind Julian like something out of a movie. At one point, the old man leapt onto Sui's back and tried to bite his ear off. I won't bore you with the play-by-play of how the fight went down. In the end, we crushed him. Unfortunately, the fighting had caused some collateral damage. At some point during our Shadowrun with Julian, the control panel of the vault door must have eaten an arc of lightning or a blast of a powerball. It was toast, all black and melted, and neither of us could fix it. So you were trapped in the vault. Yeah, that's about the size of it, and it was only a matter of time before the old man's remaining security guards found us in there. There was still one way out, the ventilation duct up high in the rafters, but it was too small for Sui to fit through. He was a troll after all. I had the shiny object, but if I left Sui in there and security got to him, well, you do the math. So here's the conundrum. I've got our payday in the satchel. The team is split. It's inevitable that more Triad 49ers are going to find us, but we don't know when or how many. Ygritte and Hanu are holding their own in the loading dock, for now. I can stay with Sui and help fight off the inevitable wave of Triad 49ers, but we're badly outmatched. Like, badly. The odds of survival won't look good on either of us. If Ygritte weren't pinned down on the loading dock, she could probably get the vault door open, but in order to get to her, I have to leave Sui alone in the vault. If Julian's reinforcements find Sui before I get back with Ygritte, well, she uses his thumb to draw a line across her neck. So that's the scenario, Seattle. Not a lot to work with, I know. Now tell me, what should I do? Take the gamble and go for Ygritte. It's the plan with the best chance of success. Could have done that, I guess. It might have worked. Of course, could have gotten Sui gunned down in a vault too, but in retrospect, that wouldn't have been a huge loss. Anyway, that wasn't what I did. I saw what I thought would be the way to save the day, so I went ahead and took it. I fished the shiny object out of my bag. I still remember how the talismans were that ring the thing crinkled in my hands. I remember shrugging and saying, "The hell with it." Put the thing in Sui's bare hands and told him to go nuts. It was almost like Sui had been waiting for me to pass him the thing. He seemed eager to take it. He hugged that chunk of rock to his chest like a newborn baby. Colors swam in the stone and something changed in his eyes. Then old man Julian's 49ers breached the door and Sui unleashed hell. She pauses, frowning, stops scratching Folly and uses the hand to rub her eyes. Finally she turns back at you. A sour look pinches her features. What went down in that room? Well, I've only seen that kind of carnage a couple of times in my life, and I've been running the shadows for years. Those Triad men were torn to scraps by the end of it. I don't think I'll ever forget the sounds that they made. She clears her throat. I spent the most of the fight huddled up in the corner for my own safety. When Sui let loose from that stone, it didn't seem terribly interested in discriminating what was friend and what was foe. What do you mean by that? Did he summon hostile spirits or something? Something like that. Truth be told, I don't know what they were. Like I said, I was hiding. But he couldn't have done it without the shiny object. Not in a million years. Whatever they were. The rock brought him here. So what happened then? Shrugs. We waited for things to calm down in the vault, and for things to go slithering away. I think that Sui had some limited control over them, which is to say they didn't eat us. After they were gone, Sui gave me the shiny object back. I put it in my satchel and we bailed. We collected the others on the way out. They were blissfully ignorant of what happened on the other side of the warehouse, and I didn't see reason to change that. We hightailed it back to the docks and caught the first ship back to the sinking ship. Mission accomplished. Gobbet looks away again, stares off into space. From what I'm told, people still avoid Juyeon's warehouse like the plague. It's supposed to be haunted even to this day. People who set foot in that building keep turning up dead. I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only living people who knows why. Abruptly, your body language changes. Anyway, that's it. Lesson's over. If you've got any questions, go ahead. Gubbet, was there any point to this story? I'm trying to find a moral here. There was when I started telling it. I thought I was going to tell you to be comfortable with breaking the rules. I don't think I'm going to say that now, though. I'm not feeling it anymore. Why not? At least your team made it out of this run alive. Didn't stay that way for long. But let's just leave it that for next time, huh? I don't want to get into it just now. Can you tell me more about the sinking ship? Yeah, sure. The story's over, so we can get onto it. I moved onto the sinking ship when I was just a kid. I think that I was 12, maybe 13 years old at the time. In the beginning, it was just me and a couple of rat shaman friends, Cadmus and Melvina. They were older, but they were always cool to me. Is it typical for rat shamans to congregate like that? Not terribly, no. I mean, we have lodges, same as any other group of shamans. You can usually find a few of us hanging out in those. I guess there was just something special about our little group. Sorry guys, I'll fix that in a second. I guess there was just something special about our little group. Or maybe about that sinking ship. We liked it. We felt at home there. Didn't hurt that the sinking ship was well stocked and provisioned, as we found it either. And don't look at me like that. It was abandoned before we took it. Abandoned? There was a team of Shadowrunners that had lived on the thing before us, but they bid it on the job. Cad and Mal heard the knock of opportunity, and they claimed the raft for Rat in record time. Taking over the sinking ship wasn't an easy job, mind you. The previous owners had installed traps and automated defense all over the raft. Cad had his hands full with those for a month. What kind of traps are we talking about? She shrugs. The usual stuff. Explosives, pop turrets, that kind of thing. Cad and his sister Yasmin took care of most of it without too much trouble. The biggest problems were the scuttling charges. The runners who built the raft installed these explosives all along the perimeter that ripped the bottom out of the thing if it were ever seized by the police. The explosives were tricky to deal with. Cad was able to disarm them, but he had to leave them where they were. I was always slightly just uncomfortable, knowing that I was sleeping on top of a couple of 100 pounds of dormant explosives. I can't blame you there. She shrugs. Hey, like I said, it was free. There wasn't even really any rules to follow, which suited me fine. Melvina was a sort of leader of our little nest, but I never really listened to her. She was always trying to play the mom card and instill a sense of responsibility into us. It was cute. She'd have a propensity for getting things done, though. I had to give her that. Anyway, after a few months, other people started showing up. Squatters and homeless people, Shadowrunners and assorted crazies. As long as they stayed cool with us, we were cool with them. Eventually, it became a community. Imagine that. Think you wound up squatting on the bolt hole because of your time on the sinking ship? I don't know, maybe. Never really thought about it before, but yeah, maybe. The corner of her mouths curl upward. Guess I'm a water rat now. Let's take a break and come back to this later. Of course, like I said, it's a long story. Is there something else that you wanted to talk about? That's all for now, Gobbet. Talk to you later. Yeah, hey Seattle. I'm sorry that this lesson wound up getting a little unfocused in the end. I'm not really sure what came over me. Cool, don't worry about it. Well, I still feel bad about it. So look, I'll make you a deal. Your next lesson will definitely be on point, and I'll tell you what it's about up front. No more question and answer sessions. How does that sound? Fine by me, Gobbet. I'll catch you next time. She waves. Next time. So, I mean, the game is certainly trying to instill the doubt, but my suspicion is that the shiny object is related to the, like the nightmares and the bad chi in, God, God, whatever, the Nightmare District. I'm pretty sure I've exhausted all these merchant dialogue options. I'm just going to take a quick second to double check. Oh, nope. Matthew Cigarello is dead, drenched by the rain. He stands with his signature nonchalance, but the edges of his face are twitching. His eyes are wide with fear. You could listen in, but you've already got the gist. Matthew is being chewed out. Listen in. A sharp voice emits from the hover drone, interspersed with static cracks. Don't pick up the sails, you're going to be digging dog shit out of the treads for a living. You got me? Reliable Matthew stutters in response. Hey, Kong Hai, come on, beautiful. I just got a half dozen hot leads coming in just today. Don't give me your cheap hustler stick, loser. If you don't push tin, you and your fuzzy little pals are gonna be living in a cardboard box. Don't worry, beautiful. I want to hear, yes, sir. If I hear anything else, I'm gonna pull your eyes out down to your ass so you can watch me kick the crap out of you. You hear me? Yes, sir. Matthew's voice is barely a whisper. What was that? He says it loudly. Yes, sir. That's better. Now don't screw this up, you damned screw-up. The drone speakers finish with a shriek of feedback and clack back into its hull. The drone soars up in the sky and races upriver. Matthew shakes himself off. His cheery demeanor surges back with striking resilience. He turns towards you, a little wild-eyed but otherwise restored to his usual self. 71! I hardly saw you there. Come on in! Don't be a stranger, beautiful! Who are you talking to through the hover drone? One of my suppliers, Kong Ha. Really good businessman, sharp eye, sees opportunity where most of us only see broken parts. Funny guy, makes me laugh my ass off. Kong Ha's a funny guy, you say? Yeah, I was laughing my ass off over there. Matthew gives you a long, awkward smile. The seconds stretch out. He blinks uncomfortably. When he speaks, his words sound stilted, like he's repeating a mantra. He's a funny guy. What's your business arrangement with Kong Ha? I sell on commission. Gotta keep those bots moving. If they don't earn their keep, sitting out in the barge. You don't own most of these drones? Matthew brows arc up in surprise. Of course not. How could I afford them? I'm so lucky to have a guy like Kong Ha as a partner. Only problem is he's got me laughing in stitches so much it sometimes distracts me from the sales. Kong Ha sounded unhappy. Oh, that's just Kong Ha. He's like a paper tiger. Matthew sways back and forth on his feet, languid and jittery at the same time. He's a big joker, always shouting, but I think it's real softy at heart. Real big heart for the little people. Keeps me well stocked. Matthew adjusts his suit lapels with mechanical gusto. Whew, what a pep talk of that Kong Ha. I feel like I could take on the world now. Goodbye, Matthew. Jin frowns. Look who's back. Don't you have an go egg a car or something else and leave us alone? I, for one, enjoy it. I suspect this should be a different character. I, for one, enjoy 71's visits. A hint of a smile touches Lao's lips as Jin grumbles to himself. How can we help you? I gotta run, see ya. So we did exhaust the dialogue. I also think we took care of the shop here, but if I don't do the dialogue now, it just means that there's more for me to read next time, so. Hey there, are you looking to buy something or just feeling social? Just browsing. Thanks, Crafty. See you around. Alright, I believe we're actually ready to go back to Kindly Cheng, unless our Filipino friend has more dialogue for us. It's so hot out and humid. She fans herself with a cybernetic hand. If you're back to talk, go on and talk. I'm listening. I should go. Yes, be on your way then. Alright, we put off Kindly Cheng as long as we can. A rotund, balding dwarf in a cheap suit turns to face you. Light glints from the heavy gold chains that he hang around his neck. When he speaks, the voice that greets your ears is high and nasal. It's been contorted as a rough approximation of a New York accent. Pleased to meet ya. Cheng was kind enough to arrange this little sit-down between us. He extends a slab-like hand for you to shake. You can call me Dr. Shen Zhang. Shake his hand. It's always good to meet a paying client. His grip is as soft as his palm is moist. It's like shaking hands with a boneless ham. You share a long, uncomfortably flaccid handshake before he finally releases you. I'm looking for a little outside help on a problem I've been having. Ordinary I'd handle it myself or have my friend see to it, but it's kinda delicate, you know? My guys may be noticed before they made any headway on my problem. So I figure, hey, I hire subcontractors all the time. Might as well get some contractors of a different stripe. Tell me about your problem. Maybe we can help. I run a little film studio, Southern Crown Films. We mostly do trid work, but we record some Sims too. Maybe you've seen some of the stuff. Spliced Mongols from the Moon, Flavor of the Pomegranates, Ultimate Kill Squad. No, but I like the sound of Ultimate Kill Squad. How much killing they do? He offers you a chipped tooth grin. A lot. There's one scene where two trolls gang up on an elf, and well, I don't want to spoil it, but believe me, it's glorious. Send a copy over to Cheng so you can take a look. Anyway, there's this other guy in the industry, and we've been butting heads since day one. Name's Neville Ma. He runs the Yellow Spring Studios. No matter what I do, I can't shut him out of the biz. He always manages to get one over on me and steal my stars. He's been running me into the ground with his show called Promises in Moonlight. The star is a girl named Penelope Wong. New talent, but the viewers have been going nuts over her. She's the show's linchpin. Hang on, I'm getting there. So about 6 months ago, Neville was out in Guangzhou for some hoity-toity party. He's on the road, probably drunk. Semi comes out of nowhere and pow! Wrecks his fancy new Eurocar Westwind. Bad luck for Neville, good luck for me. I figure, hey, that's the end of him for a year, and I start planning some stuff that he can't compete with from inside of a hospital. You follow me so far? Let me guess, he found a way to compete with you from the hospital. No, worse. The bastard is out of the hospital. He's back in the game, bringing out Season 2 of Promises in Moonlight. I need that show off the air one way or another. And that, my friend, is where you come in. How long did it take him to recuperate? I tell you, kid, he should have been in hospital for at least 3 months, and in physical therapy a lot longer. Only took him a week to get out. Couldn't frickin' believe that. That kind of medical care costs top dollar. He's got a lot of money, but not that much. Recovery time like that means one of two things is going on. Neville could have found himself a silent partner, someone willing to pay top dollar for cutting-edge care. I don't think that's likely, but it could have happened. If it ain't that, smart money says he's been skimming off the top of Yellow Spring's earnings and not reporting it to the other shareholders. And you want me to look into that, I take it. I need you to go and find something to blackmail Neville with. Find out how he could afford to get out of the hospital so fast. He works out of his penthouse most days, so search his computer, closet, sock drawer, whatever, there's gonna be something incriminating in there. Where's this penthouse? Neville lives in the Repulse Bay. It's a real swanky joint in the south end of the Hong Kong island. The bay with the same name. I haven't been able to get anybody to poke around in his apartment because the security's too tight. Lucky for you, though, Neville's throwing a party on the mezzanine level with all the shops and restaurant and balcony and such. He's celebrating a second season launch of his show, and everybody's going to be there. Going to make it real snarl for building security. You might also want to hit up this party if you can bluff your way in. Everyone close to Neville will be there, so most of them will be in 3 sheets to the wind by the time you get there. Some discreet questioning might get you the dirt that you need. Just remember, if you go to the party, don't use your real name. Go with Argyle. Should be safe enough. There's nobody in the biz out here with that name, so nobody ask you a question about how your work's going. couldn't you just make a better show? It's not just a better show, it's Penelope Wong too. I get her, I get all her fans too. They'll watch anything she's in. Listen, it's like this. A little blackmail never hurt anybody, alright? Well, except the person you're blackmailing. That's just how it works in the industry. I don't dislike the guy, but you gotta stay on top of the business. Now, the blackmail material is what I need more than anything. If you can get Penelope Wong out of her contract, I'll pay you extra. Got it? I want her star power on my side. One last thing. I don't want you starting to scare while you're there. You interrupt his party, make a mess or trash his apartment, and I'm not paying you. We clear on that? Why the concern? If you're going to hamstring me before I even go on the run, I want to know why. Because it's gauche. I can't have my ma knowing I'm after him. My business, everybody's got dirty tricks. But you make it public, you using them? Dr. Shenyang draws a finger across his throat. That's it. Career's as dead as the People's Republic of China. Nobody will work with me ever again. So don't embarrass me, eh? Got it. Reputation is important. I'll make sure that yours remains intact. Glad to hear it. Listen, you do this for me, I'll make sure you're not only paid well, but I'll also tell my friends that you come highly recommended. You don't seem like you deal with Shadowrunners much. Shadowrunners, Moonlight Prancers, who gives a crap? I got money and a job, I don't care who does it as long as the price is right. What's more, I got a lot of friends around town, and a lot of them run in your circles too. He looks up at you, an eagerness in his eyes. So what, we got a deal? You gonna do it? We have a deal. His grin widens. Good man, that's what I like to hear. When you're done, drop by Chairman Line. I'll come and meet you back here and hand over the money. Alright, I'm glad to be stopping that voice. Kindly Cheng appears to be nearing the end of a harsh exchange with Strangler Bao, who is listening intently. So you tell me that that little pustule that Auntie Chang isn't fucking happy, you get it? Not happy at all. Don't tell him that I'm displeased. Don't tell him that I didn't take it well. She slams a shot glass on the table. Tell him that I am extremity chopping mad if he doesn't want what happened to ye to happen to him. Sorry. And if he doesn't want to have what happened to ye happen to him, we'd better get that head and his ass wired together and get me that payment today. She raises an eyebrows. Was that message clear enough, Mr. Bao? Yes, Ming Chen. Yes, Miss Cheng. I'll explain things to him in terms that he can understand. Bao steps back and becomes a meat statue once again. Cheng's voice turns treacle sweet as she sees you waiting on here. Ah, our newly minted Shadowrunner. How are you taking to your new role, 71? Like a duck to water, Auntie. I had no doubt, my sweet. I have a nose for talent. And how is Mr. Gunshow doing with his new life? He's doing just fine, Auntie. Very good, my dear. Very good. Was there something specific that you came to me about? Just checking in, Auntie. It pays to stay in touch. I agree, yes. Personal contact gets results. I have some good news for you. One of my people successfully planted a wiretap in the police special duties unit. If news of your foster father or the plastic-faced man reaches them, they will reach me as well. So far, your foster father has proven a difficult man to find, and the plastic-faced man is elusive. He's clearly someone who knows how to stay out of the public eye. But I have my network running, working day and night, and still have some favors that I can call in if need be. We'll find them both. It's only a matter of time. Until then, go about your business. I'm sure that more work will come your way any moment. She glances back at Bao. Now I have some pressing business to attend to. The kind that ends in parentless children. I'll talk to you later. Okay, so we've only got a few minutes left, but let's start the Raptor job. Head to the Ares facility to incite a conflict between the Knight Errant and the Red Dragon Syndicate. So we have to bring Ractor. And this is actually a little bit of a trickier one. So to me, there's not a huge reason for bringing in the paid mercenaries. So like we have El Duce, Killuminati, X-Flow, Brett. Like there's a bunch of people here who just cost money, but I kind of have everything that I need. So the first argument would be we want Gobbet because she has the ability to heal. We could go for Duncan if it's basically a pure run and gun. And as always, it could potentially help to have a Decker. In this case, the possibility I'm thinking of is a need to download the data. So it's a little... Oh, hang on, we can bring 3 people. That's good. I think in that case we will bring Gobbet. So the difficulty here is that we have a couple of more tech-oriented people. The thing is that Isabel is actually not that bad in a fight, and neither is Gobbet, although, again, she tends to be a bit more of a support role. So we're a little bit undergunned for this, but I also haven't seen Ractor so far as his ability. And actually, I've never played a rigger in this series before, so should be fun. You're about to travel to the Ares Asia Holdings facility. Continue. Confirm. You could also say, too, I mean, there's possible character reasons for the compositions that I've had, as I've been keeping Duncan out of the jobs because he's uncomfortable being a criminal. So. Central Hong Kong spills out along Victoria Harbor, all glittering chrome and neon flash against the night's darkness. The skyscrapers are a jagged nest of mirrored knives thrust into the sky, rending the clouds as they ascend to the heavens. The Ares Asia Holdings complex squats menacingly over Charter Road, a steel and concrete tumor intertwined with nearby buildings and a web of sky bridges and shared parking structures. You make your way inside and ascend to the 5th floor, a public foyer that connects to the restricted areas of the complex. As the elevator opens, you arrive in a cold, dimly lit reception area. Beyond it, your quarry awaits. I don't believe we have any other gear that I can equip, so we'll just run with what we've got. So as always, I kind of save up my karma until the beginning of a run and see if I can do anything interesting. My biggest priorities at the moment are improving things like my quickness and my ranged combat, which I can do both. Nope, don't have enough for that actually, so... It's kind of hard because I don't have a lot of reasons to do body yet. I think in this case I'm just going to hold back on these 5. I might put them into something else, like it might help to add charisma. But I'll just sit with what I've got. Exiting the Ares Asia Holdings elevator on the 5th floor of the skyscraper complex. Sorry. The antiseptic odor of the megacorporation's offices assails your nostrils. The immaculately detailed interior speaks volumes of the wealth and control the North American industrial giant has come to wield over the free enterprise zone. Ractor glances at his bracer, holding up a page of notes in the Ares Asia Holdings and scrolling through it. We're looking for a lab between floor 15 and 40. Everything below 15 is shopping and recreation, and the residential areas span 41 to 92. The auto repair circuits should be up there as well. I know Taylor and Hargham. They'll keep it close to their main lab so they can work on the project in their off hours. And they'll need specialized testing equipment, things you can't fit in an apartment, even a big one. So everything we're looking for will be near the main lab. Yes, once we plant the altered visitor record data, we can find the lab's precise location. From there, everything we need should be nearby. The one thing I'll say is I wish I could play... Actually, let's just take a look and see if I can find the party members. So the one thing I wish is that I could have somebody else interact. So in this case, you know, my character has a low charisma because that was sort of the idea that I had when I designed him. Oh, actually, Ractor's charisma too. Isabel has got a much better charisma. And Gobbet does as well. Actually, that's really interesting. Well, no, that would make sense. Actually, she's a shaman. What am I saying? So in this case, it would make sense to have Gobbet interact with people, but I believe I can only control myself. Welcome to Ares Asia. Welcome to Ares Asia Holdings, a division of Ares Macro Technology. How may I assist you today? Got a report on drone field testing I need to present. But you're obviously not an Ares citizen. Why would you be presenting anything? Ractor draws himself up straight, puffing his chest out as he raises his voice. I am Dr. Ractor, formerly imported by Grishkin Avigor. I was the director of the drone development for over 10 years, and the drone that you see is part of my latest project. He looks unsure of himself. You can see his eyes flit and a conspicuous panic button mounted on the side of the desk, but he doesn't move. You aren't on the guest lit. Ractor plows on, his booming voice half cutting the secretary's question in half. It's a fully autonomous, quadrupedal defense and attack drone with integrated fire direction data management, adaptive autosoft parsing, and modular weapons integration. This drone redefines Bleeding Edge. What's more, it has an adaptive experience registry sub-program. To wit, it learns! The secretary blinks a few times, his eyes glazed over by Ractor's barrage of technobabble. Oh, yes, I see. That's a lot of interesting information. What should I put down on the arrival sheet, then? Rector regards the receptions coldly and curls one corner of his mouth into a sneer. Put down that I am here to make a sales pitch. If there's any company in this world with an interest in cutting-edge combat drones, it should be Ares Macro Technology. I have a full report on the field and a stress test, part time to failure and combat efficacy, and I do not like being delayed. Very well. Have a pleasant evening, Doctor. Please stay on this floor until your escort from the Drone Research Division arrives. Well, this is a puzzle, because like I'm sure once I move past him, an alarm's gonna sound off. Oh, here's some promise. This vent could fit a drone through. Absent that, there's not much you can do with this. Send one of the team's drones in. Oh, Skunk Odor's hosting me. Thank you, guys. We have got, let's just take a second here. We've got Crunchmeester, Skunk Odor, Hacker of Drow, Gigantic Hoodie. Welcome back, Counter Joe, by the way. Flaming Fury, welcome back. Gigantic Hoodie, a Genocidal Puppy, Pure Adrenaline, Kite 260, welcome back. Cassili. Hey guys, what a fantastic raid. So, I'm System Shock, fellow Team Panda member with Skunk Odor. Skunk is a baby at CSGO. I need to make a confession for you guys. First of all, I'm really happy to see a bunch of you guys coming back with Skunk Odor. We were talking a bit about how it wasn't just a month ago that we were celebrating 300 follows to this channel, and we were at 389. We lost a couple along the way, but that is fine. We had the, I think it's pretty fantastic that we have people who have liked the stream enough to keep coming back and keep supporting. So you can get upset about the couple of people who don't find it their thing, or you can be really happy that so many people... Oh my goodness, Gigantic Cootie, thank you very much for the follow there. We're now at 390. But yeah, the mere idea that it's been almost 100 people, now 90 people, Nat, since 1 month ago is absolutely mind-blowing. It's the reason I keep doing this stuff. And Skunk Odor, I mean, what can I say? You did an absolutely fantastic job supporting me. Oh my goodness, more people. Crunchmeester, thank you very much for the follow as well. 391. Sorry guys, I gotta jump between the menus, causing my directions to go off. So, I need to warn you guys, this is gonna be a short raid because I have school starting. I am a variety streamer. I do Crusader Kings 2 on Fridays. I do Shadowrun. A Genocidal Puppy, thank you very much for that follow, my friend. Guys, thank you very much for that. I apologize. I might just have to do a sales pitch and then abandon you. We'll try and do a little bit more, but what's happening is I'm going to be starting graduate school tomorrow. I'm in economics at the University of British Columbia. Love streaming, love gaming, but I have not gotten any sleep. I have got 2 major assignments. Oh my goodness. Cassili, thank you very much for that follow. Guys, thank you so much. I've had a wonderful time every time I've gone into Skunk Odor's channel. I haven't always had a chance to see a lot of these names, so the fact that I've completely stopped gameplay and you guys are throwing that support means a lot. And I mean, I can see exactly the kinds of people, because I know who Skunk Odor is, but